there, and welcome to PTSD While Black. It's me, Quinn. I'm just playing around and being creative with stuff today. Um, I'm not gonna do a psychic prediction, which I thought I might do, but I'm like, I don't feel like it, because I'm tired. But what I wanted to talk about is the different forms of activism that we can each have during these moments of unrest within our nation. Just like it takes multiple types of people to make a city run, that you need people who are doctors, you need people who are leaders, firefighters, um you do need some kind of order with how you're doing things. And that's the same thing with those of us who are doing or being present in activism, or just if you feel any goddamn thing about watching videos of people dying on TV. Okay. There's a different role for each of us. I remember when I first um saw the killing of Mike Brown, I didn't know what to do with myself. And so protesting was helpful because it got it out of my body. It helped me to be able to connect with community. It helped me to have energy. So that's why I chose to protest, because like I don't know what to do with the situation at the moment. Um, whereas with actually I should just do this side because I've brushed it. Whereas when you get further involved in things of looking how to create change within your community, that's when you start recognizing that there are so many different roles that are needed. So how do you serve the roles needed in supporting your community when these things happen? And what role do you have? What role do you take? Because there are maybe very different things. Like some people are needed as leaders, some people are needed as those who communicate in front of the media. I am not that person. um, there are people who are trained to be media present, for example. So it's really looking at. Can you hear me brushing my hair? A little bit of ASMR. Don't know if you hear it. That's my hair. But I'm looking at what is my role. I'm somebody who is differently abled. I have spine and neck injuries. I have knee shoulder injuries as well. I have a brain injury. So, being somebody who's organizing the protest, not my job. Being somebody perhaps who's even doing the marching and demonstration, that's not so much of what I can do. Um, and really, demonstrations just call attention to what has happened, and then we need to do the rest of the community healing afterwards. But when I look at this, I have to accept what my role can be. At first, um, and I had to learn that during these times of unrest, there are people who will capitalize and take advantage of it, that will either try to get views or to pull clout, or to use Black pain as a way to advance themselves. And I experienced that when I was active in 2014 to 2015. Um, that because we feel so much pain and we want to create change, there are people out there who are like, yeah, let's use that energy. And then let's bring about awareness of our particular group or our particular resource instead of acknowledging the hurt in the community. So for me, as an activist, what my activism looks like today is I hold space for people. I listen. I um would like to get back into creating healing circles. This one of the things that I realized I needed to do afterwards, just so that people had a safe space to talk about how they felt seeing certain videos, or how they feel about um, violence in their communities and what they need to feel safe, and how they feel about being profiled. That's what I'm learning. Okay, that's more of my speed, something that I can do. Um, so what I do right now is, and further, in, I think, in really helping the community is, I mentor other Black women on self care. Not just self care, but under being issues where we don't give ourselves enough. Because I've lived that, and I still live that, and I struggle with it. And I know that working with other people who have dealt with under being issues, believing that you don't deserve anything, that you can't make more than what's been expected of you. You can only do so much. that is my area of, like, you have worth, you have value. And I've said it many times on this channel that my therapist told me after the car accident. She's like, even if you are just a talking head laying in a bed, you still have worth and value because you still connect with other people. Even if you can't do much, even if you are in a coma, you still have worth and value because the nurse, the staff, and the people that are there are interacting with you and connecting with you. And that's sometimes teaching other people gentleness and kindness. So that's what I'm recognizing my role in activism looks like. Reminding people of their worth, reminding people of their inherent dignity, that you mean something here today, regardless of what society is saying. Um, my role in all of this is just to help people, period, people to validate themselves. I have the energy and speed right now, mostly for Black women, but I can definitely expand to other communities. I can expand to white people who are active and checking their internalized racism and their internalized white supremacy. I can help with holding space for those individuals. For individuals who haven't questioned it, haven't researched it, haven't looked at themselves, I'm not the best person. There are other people that can do that. And I just respect that. And it's simply knowing what are my boundaries in this whole thing. When I was watching protests during the George Floyd killing, you know, they had different roles. There were people who were at the front carrying the signs, there were people who organized, there were people on the sides who were medics, making sure people had water or food or a snack or something, or to treat them if they had gotten tear gassed and things of that nature. So I noticed that when I was watching the news. And it's like, yeah, people are doing different service roles in this. And not everybody has to be the face on camera. Got that? Not everybody has to be the face on camera. Not everybody has to be the person leading the march. There are different roles that people can play in creating this change. Um, and so I just respect that. And I think that it's helpful if people look at what are your abilities, what are your gifts and your skills, and how do you want to show up for your community? How do you want to show up for you? Um, I'm just really learning to appreciate this instead of trying to shoehorn people into certain positions. Take a look and see who does what. Maybe somebody has a really good interest in marketing and designing. You could be the person who's in charge of the flyers. Whatever you can do. But it's really looking at how do we create change in our communities? How, and I'm thinking of right now with policing and the horrible way of Teray Nichols killing in Memphis, Tennessee. That's my home state, by the way. Tennessee's my home state. To look at that kind of thing happening there, and how can we do this differently? How can we show up? How can we honor the humanity of each other? Um, how can our police officers, um, knowing that you're taking a position to protect and to serve, how can you show up wholly in that moment? Is this the role for you? How can you get to know the communities that you are policing so that you're not just going after strangers or just trying to look important or to just pay the bills or to fill a quota, but you're actually connecting with other human beings? How can we create this change? And I won't even get into the subject on why the police department was created, which was to catch runaway slaves, and they're kind of doing the same thing. Hasn't changed. It hasn't changed. So it's for you, those who know this, those who've seen it, those who've witnessed it, to be present within your communities on making those changes, on how your police department shows up. Hey, based on how you're treating people, this is where you get funding, for example. It's not just protecting and serving the rich and the wealthy, but how do you treat the most vulnerable citizens in your community? Make that the quota. Make that the goal to reach. Make that the value or the marker. So, we as citizens do have the ability to show up and to speak. We have the ability to use our skills and gifts within our communities. And maybe, know what? Maybe you're not the one to change the world. I realize that it's the rich and the wealthy that are going to be the ones who will change the way policing is done in America. Because where you choose to put your money is where the issues go. And if you're choosing to continue to profit off of pain, abuse, and stress, then that's the cycle that's being continued. So, how do we, as the recipients of these experiences, how do we continue to be the best versions of ourselves, knowing that this is happening, knowing that this goes on? How do we continue to show up for ourselves, for our communities, knowing that this is going on? That's the thing to look for. Um, yeah. I realized that I just recorded this whole thing with background music and I didn't mean to, but yeah, how do we continue to show up and be the best versions of ourselves regardless of what our society chooses to do? How do we be good human beings to each other? How do we believe and validate the reality of each other and what's going on? It's kind of what I look at. So, you've just witnessed me right now doing my activism. This is Quinn activism. I am twisting my hair and just talking about what else can we do? What are other choices, y'all? There are always choices. We always have choices. And it's just where are we facing or what direction are we choosing to look? And how can we do it differently? All right, that's my thought. Till next time, peace.